Mississippi in August means one thing: high school football. And right now, the stands are empty and it's very quiet. Tomorrow night, however, the gridiron magic comes alive as Tupelo hosts South Panola in the season opener. To get a look ahead on the game and the rest of the season, we're going to go inside and talk to 7th year coach Trent Hammond about Golden Wave football.
Two favorite words this time of the year is game day. Coach Hammond, this is your 7th season. Welcome back to Tupelo. Welcome back for our 7th season. There's just something special about August in Mississippi with high school football.
You know, it's my favorite time of the year. I think it's my favorite season, so to speak. You know, some people look forward to deer season or turkey season. I look forward to football season. Years ago, somebody told me, that's because you don't have any hobbies outside of it, that this is what you think about, you know. And so I love football. I've loved it for a long, long time, and I'm excited.
You've been coaching for a long time, not just here at Tupelo. What's it like walking out on the field for that first game of the year?
To me, I've been doing it. This is year 25, working on 26. You know, but it still gets you the jitters, the amped up, the whole thing. You know, your stomach's churning, and if you've never experienced it, it's just something that you step out there and you look, and you see the crowds, and you see, you know, you look at the kids' faces and the excitement and the nervousness. But the amazing thing is that as soon as the ball's kicked in the air, all that disappears. And, you know, it just becomes playing the game then.
For a first game, what is always your biggest concern?
Well, you worry about where you are as a team and what you're going to do. You worry about, as a coach, have you conditioned enough and got your team ready to play? Because, you know, we were talking just the other day with our kids, saying that a lot of times first games aren't won by the best team, but by the team with the best players left playing late in the game. And so you worry about that. You're trying to feel yourself out. It's kind of like a heavyweight fight where you watch the two fighters throw a few jabs and just some punches, trying to get the feel of what it is. And I think your first part of the year, that's what you're trying to do, is get the feel of where this season's going to go or what you can do, and you'll have to adjust what you want to do to what kids can do.
I remember back in the spring, you talked about you were going to change up spring football. You wanted it to be more boot-like camp, players being in better shape. Did you accomplish what you wanted to with that?
Yeah, we actually had what we called Tupelo's first boot camp in November, and it really was absolutely nothing to do with football.
Right.
It was, I think, more about character lessons and about team building and about trying to battle the things that society has set in for us, because so much today is geared to kids wanting theirs, you know. And what it struck me is in October of last year, I did a survey of my senior class on last year's team and asked them a simple question and write down either the answer A or B and turn it in to me without your name on it. And I gave them a scenario of, if we could play this week and you get 10 great highlights to be on your huddle highlight film to send out and us lose, or you not get in the game and us win, which one of these would you rather have? And 80 to 90% of those kids chose the highlights over the win. And that crushed me as a football coach. And so that's where the boot camp idea came, is I started reaching out to people that were successful in Texas and in California and places like that. And this idea struck me as something that places like Katy, Texas had done, and try to battle the me that is out there in the world to be we, because we preach big we, little me, but why isn't nail it home? So we went through an entire spring of 4 weeks, a month of that, where kids were taught a lesson in the classroom every day by a coach of character or selflessness, or, you know, even simple things on how to be a man as far as shaking hands and looking somebody in the eye and introducing themselves, all those kind of lessons, how to handle social media and what not to retweet and what not to do. But then we set up activities, a lot of mat drills, a lot of very strenuous activity for about a nonstop hour. And it kind of created where we couldn't be successful. Me as an individual, it had to be us as a collective group, and we divided them in platoons, and we took away their fancy gear and gave them plain white Hanes t-shirts and put anything that was a burden, grades, absentees, anything like that loaded on their back, that they had to carry it with them. And there were punishments for things, for being late, for not dressed, for not,
Right.
and then made them earn over the course the nice gear, the things there. But what it's done for us, and I know that's a long story, what it's done for us is it's made January through today so much easier. Kids are understanding that if something's important, you're going to be on time.
Right.
You know, we'll never, you know, I told them all, if the prettiest girl here on campus said pick me up at 7, you wouldn't show up at 9 o'clock. You know, you would be there, you'd be 6:45 riding around her house. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And so we did that, and it's transitioned into being one of the most enjoyable off seasons and springs that I've gone through and that our staff's gone through here.
But you've got a young team too this year.
We're young, and even when we're in places where we have seniors, a lot of them haven't had any experience.
Right.
We lost a lot of good football players that won a ton of games over their career. And so we're having to bring in some kids that haven't been out there when the lights are on. And, you know, you would love to say, well, we're going to open them up with some games that we could possibly be favored in, but that's not the hand we're dealt this year. And so these guys are going to have to grow up fast and grow up on the job, so to speak.
Let's talk a little bit about that. Most people ease into the schedule. You open up with South Panola. They're not a division game this year. That's a pretty tough game to come up with Friday night.
Well, it is, but that's my hat, and tip my hat to the guys that have played here and to our assistant coaches, because your first non-division games, you get to pick the phone up and call guys and ask, do you want to play? Would you be willing to play us? And this past year it became a very difficult thing, and I told my kids, win or losses aside, that I would judge our success at Tupelo as how hard it was to schedule.
Right.
If people didn't want to play, then that would be, we would know that, hey, we've been a successful football program, win, lose, or draw. And so it became very tough to play. So you look at our schedules filled with a bunch of people that other people didn't want to play either.
Right.
And so it's made life a challenge this time. You know, South Panola is going to be very good, but in preseason polls, now in the preseason top 10, you've got South Panola picked in the top. You have West Point picked in the top. You have Corinth picked to be the 4A state champions. Neshoba was a 10-3 5A team last year that returns 2 SEC running backs in a Sun Belt Conference All-for O-lineman and about 16 starters. And then in our division, Horn Lake's in the top 10. Olive Branch is in the
champion.
Yes, Olive Branch is in the top 10, and Oxford all ranked in the top 10. So 6 of our 10, you know, six of our games are top 10 preseason guys. So we have a very daunting task on us on a young team. And hopefully that we'll be able to hang our hats, but can't guarantee wins or losses. But I hope we can say that we'll go out and play hard and represent that big T on our helmet in the proper way.
When you open with a team the caliber and the history that South Panola has, do you see a different focus, that the kids are a little bit more focused than if you were open up against, let's say, a 3A team that doesn't have a lot of tradition?
I think anytime you have South Panola or somebody on the schedule, it's got to get your focus. You know, I think opening games are always easier to focus because it's coming fast. But when you have somebody that everybody, it doesn't matter where you are, understands when you say that name, they think about football and high school football. I think that lends itself, and not only that, to know that they're coming in with a dandy dozen running back, you know, safety committed to Mississippi State. So you understand and you get a lot of locked in and ready to go.
Gotcha. Coach, last question. Fridays, is there any rituals, traditions that you have on a game day?
My biggest thing is I like to spend a little bit of time by myself, you know, because I get a little nervous and amped up, and what I mean by that is any kind of noise aggravates me to the core, and I try to get away. You know,
Gotcha.
Dr. Moore, he's been, you know, one of those that he claims that he figured out best thing to do is to run errands on Friday, get me away from, you know, to let's go shake hands and do a little bit of that to where I can't sit here and dwell on what's happening at 7 o'clock.
Well, we're excited for Tupelo football. It's going to be a great year.
That, and sometimes I slip off and get some chicken gizzards if we're winning.
There you go. Well, let's hope for a lot of chicken gizzards this year. Coach, good luck.
Thank you.